The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Dulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and senior editor of Subprime Auto Finance News and AutoFin Journal. In today's webinar, 5 tips to improve the customer experience, we're going to learn more from Tyson Brown and Matt Boyce of Podium. But before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. Please make sure you've dialed in using the phone number provided in your communication email, or you're able to listen via your PC speakers. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll make the recording available to you as soon as possible. You will be in listen-only mode for this webinar, but we will reserve some time after the presentation for a Q&A session. You can submit your questions at any time to the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And if we aren't able to get to your question today, don't worry, because we'll forward it on to the team at Podium so they can respond back to you directly via email. And lastly, if you have any problems during our webinar today, please click on the hand icon to alert a member of our team. So with plenty of knowledge and recommendations to share, let's get right to Tyson and Matt for our webinar. Gentlemen, the floor is now yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. This is Matt Boyce. I'm a marketing director here at Podium. And in my time here, I've seen really millions of messages be sent on the Podium platform. I've seen reviews generated. I've seen businesses 10x their inbound lead flow. So I've seen quite a few things. And I'm joined by Tyson Brown, who's a regional sales director, specifically with auto dealers across the country. And he also has years of experience focusing on that specific vertical and has seen a lot of businesses pull ahead from the competition over that time. So we specifically will go over why convenience matters. So convenience wins, five tips to improve the customer experience. And we'll go over specific actionable tips that you'll be able to implement right away. Some of them you'll be able to implement easier, and some are a little bit harder and longer to fully adapt. But as you have questions about how it specifically relates to your business, feel free to type those into the chat pod. We'll get to those at the end, and we'll specifically talk about how dealers have implemented these same strategies. So we'll first define what the convenience economy is. Next, we'll talk about how to continuously drive loyalty through convenience, and how you're making more customers for life rather than look at a single transaction. And then we really have seen a lot of businesses implement a few of these key tactics. So we'll go over those specific 5 tips as well that are helping you stand out in the convenience economy. So first, why does convenience matter to today's economy? I don't know if you saw a recent study, but of the millennials polled, the majority of millennials viewed breakfast cereal as inconvenient and too slow. And so if breakfast cereal is considered inconvenient simply because somebody's got to wash a spoon in a bowl, then making sure that a car buying experience is also convenient is going to be vital to the success of your business. So one of the things that is driving the convenience economy is that all of a sudden the consumer is in control. So they've got the information that they need to act, and they essentially feel like they have the power and they're in the driver's seat there. Next, there are so many businesses today that have delighted customers that they have very high expectations for their customer service and for what they want. And then we live in really an on-demand economy where between binging a show on Netflix and instant access to restaurants in your area through tools like Uber Eats and DoorDash, those are the types of experiences that customers now crave. One of the other things that has spawned this is the Amazon effect. So authors are saying that Amazon is eating the world, and it really comes down to Amazon is giving customers what they want, and it's changing customer expectations. So today, a consumer expects a near frictionless transaction. Amazon has the one-click buying experience, which is incredibly fast and convenient, and then it will be at your house 2 days later with their quick and seamless delivery. Those products can go from being just an image on your desktop to being in your hand within 48 hours. And then Amazon has also really innovated on that mobile experience, and so their Amazon app is nearly as good as the full website and the full desktop experience. And so what that's doing is customers have those same behaviors in their Amazon shopping behavior, that they want that same thing when they go to the grocery store. They want that same thing when they go to the doctor. They especially want that same thing as they're buying their car and servicing that car.
Guys, Tyson here. What I want to do is just focus on some ways, in my experience in the auto dealership world, that we can really apply some of these principles. And so I want to jump in and just chime in when I can to really define what areas of this Amazon shopping experience can really be capitalized on in the dealership setting. Because it's obviously a different purchase and buying experience and service experience, but there's certain aspects of it that you guys can adapt in your specific business and dealership that will prove to be very, very helpful and effective for you.
So next, let's look at loyalty and how convenience can impact loyalty. So first off, you're increasing your customer satisfaction, where if they've had this incredible experience, they're going to want to repeat that same experience. So in my shameful example, I frequent McDonald's way more than I should or really care to admit. But they've done a few things lately that have made me loyal, simply because they made it really convenient and fast to purchase food there. And that then goes into the next piece, where consumers will take the path of least resistance, and water flows downhill. And in my example with McDonald's, it's incredibly easy and simple to eat food there that feeds my family. And so even despite a poor image on their food, what they've continued to do is make it really simple to eat there. And so being that convenient, McDonald's has created people who will return again and again and again. And so on the flip side of that, as an auto dealer, you want to go from becoming just a dealer in search results, or a dealer that your potential customers see as they drive around the city, to becoming their auto dealer, where when they have a problem or they're looking for a new vehicle, that they instantly turn to you because they were so satisfied last time, and they've got you in their phone contacts, and they know that business well, that the easiest thing for them to do, rather than just start their business search all over again, is to come back and revisit your business.
And one example of this, guys, I had a personal experience of this, but also with other dealerships that I've worked with, is when that service light or the oil change light pops up in a customer's vehicle, if they have a number that they can just simply go to in their phone, or a contact they can call or text and say, hey, I need to schedule my service, right then and there while they're in the car, they can get in touch with you guys. That's the convenience we're talking about. That's how you create a loyal customer that will keep coming back, just making you the easiest dealership for them to work with on a continual basis.
Yeah, perfect. So with that, we want to jump into these specific tips that are going to help you win in today's convenience economy. So Tyson's got tip number 1.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Tip number 1 is be easy to find. And I think this it's pretty self-explanatory, but we talk about mobile devices and the way customers find businesses today. Right, when I have a plumbing leak in the house, I go to Google and I search for plumbers near me to try and find somebody that can come solve that problem right away. And customers, car buying customers are doing the same thing. They're looking for car dealerships in my area, car dealerships within a certain radius, or the best car dealerships, the ones that can provide me with the best experience. And so they're turning to search, and specifically Google search, I think is a primary area where you need to be focused to find you. Now, we could go through and we could have an entire webinar on SEO and how to optimize your Google listing, but just to give you guys a couple of pretty general and generic ideas, right? When it comes to being found online, you want to make sure that your Google listing is up to date, right? So make sure you've got all your listings claimed, that you've got accurate information on there. Most dealerships have a Google listing. Some have duplicate listings. Make sure that you've got the accurate information on there, and then if there are duplicates, that you narrow that down to one. Upload high quality photos. You can now post updates to your Google My Business page, similar to like a Facebook post. There's a Q&A section that Google has added on there where you can answer common questions that customers ask. Make sure the contact information is accurate and it's easy for customers to reach out to you. But there's a lot of information. I attended a seminar recently specifically on the Google My Business page, and what Google wants to do is they want to provide the customer with all the information that the customer needs to choose your business right there on your Google listing. And a lot of it is up, you guys can actually update it and make sure that the information is accurate and provided on that Google My Business page. The one thing that's challenging for you to do, and where Podium can help, is on those reviews. That's the one thing that you can't update yourself, but it's a very important factor in getting you chosen and building that consumer trust. And we're excited to share with you how Podium can help you with that.
So one quick addition there is a recent change in Google's algorithm has just shifted those search results a little bit. So now there's a little filter where if someone will search best auto dealer near me, it will filter out any business that has lower than a 4.0 star rating. And so even if you're at a 3.9 and somebody searches, best dealership in my city, you'll just be filtered out. So anyway, there's a lot that goes into SEO, and we can always go more in depth. But one of the big questions is what goes into that ranking system.
And reviews are definitely a big part of that, and that's one focus where Podium excels, right? A lot of you might know Podium as a tool that can help you with reviews, and so that's kind of our area of expertise. Reviews carry a pretty significant weight in where you pull up in that local search algorithm, among other things. But what is Google looking at when it comes to your reviews, right? You obviously want to get recent reviews, right? That's more relevant to your consumer. They don't want to know what happened 6-12 months ago. They want to know what customers have experienced in your business recently, this week, last week. So you want to make sure you're getting consistent recent reviews, reviews on a frequent basis, right? Reviews are they're no longer a game of try and get a whole pool of reviews and then sit back and relax. You've got to have that consistency and frequency up. Quality and quantity are the last things that you're looking at, right? You want to have good content within your reviews, and you want to have high volume and high quantity of reviews to make sure that not only that you're pulling up on those local searches, right, when somebody does search for best dealerships in my area, but also those reviews are going to instill a level of consumer confidence and consumer trust that's hard to find anywhere else. Today's consumer wants to work with a trusted and top-rated business, and that's what they use to gauge that what experience they can expect as they use those reviews, not only on Google but on other platforms as well. You've got Facebook reviews, Dealer Rater Reviews, Cars.com, but having a good mix and making sure you're telling the right story is very critical when it comes to your online reviews.
And then one question we always get is, what happens if we get a negative review? My first thought on that would be just relax, take a deep breath, it's going to be fine. Really, any business that has been in business for an amount of time is going to have an unhappy or an unsettled customer in some way. And so it's important to respond to that review quickly and not let it sit out there unanswered. But one of the benefits is your customers that are looking for that business are going to see that it is genuine, that you haven't gamed the system to just get all perfect 5-star reviews. And so a couple of those lower reviews are going to be fine. What's important though is if you've got 10 or 20 or even 50 reviews and a handful of those are negative, that's really going to skew your data. If you've got hundreds or even 1,000 plus reviews, then a couple negative reviews won't really be noticed as much. So tip number 2, make it really easy to connect with your business. We'll have sources at the end, but of these specific stats, 89% of consumers would like the option to message a business. And in this way, messaging doesn't necessarily mean emailing. It could be a shorter form message like a text message, or using a tool like Facebook Messenger, or some sort of an online chat tool, things like that. But even so, only 48% of businesses actually have that capability. And of those 48%, many of those businesses simply have a cell phone that they pass around the staff, or something like that that's maybe not the ideal answer to message a business.
I think, guys, the important thing to look at is step back and look how we communicate in our personal lives. We text more than we call, and occasionally a phone call is necessary, or an in-store appointment is necessary. But just based on our communication habits as individuals, it's obvious that messaging and text messaging in particular need to be incorporated a little bit more in depth into the business setting.
Yeah. On that same note, last year I moved across the country. And in my new city, I needed to find all of those same services that I had before. So, for example, I needed to find a dentist, and I knew I needed to go to the dentist, and I wanted to go to the dentist, but it seemed like all they really could do is answer phone calls, and I'm in meetings or at work most of the time that they're open, and so it was difficult for me to find a time to slip away and try to make an appointment. And so if they had a better way to, maybe I could text them, or a better online chat tool, would have just been easier for me to become a customer like I wanted to do. So here's a couple tips on new channels to focus on. So Google's click to message is a key new tool. So you can see in the image on the left, that's a rendering of Podium's Google My Business page. And typically there are those 3 buttons of call, directions, and website across that bar. But Google Click to Message adds that 4th button of message. And if you tap that button, it will open in that phone's native text messaging application, and it will just send a message to that business. So it helps you convert more people from your Google listing. You can plug really any number you want in there. A lot of people are putting in the cell phone of a manager or something like that. What's hard though is if it's just one cell phone, it can be hard to manage that. And so one of the things that Podium can do is help you spread those messages out across a variety of people.
And I'll just add here, the going back to the concept that Matt talked about earlier of making your business the path of least resistance for the customer. That's what Google's trying to accomplish here. That's what Podium's trying to accomplish. Like if the customer prefers to start their interaction with you via text message, let them, right? Some customers will do it that way. Some customers will still call you. Some customers will just get directions and show right up in the store. But making the path of least resistance very easy for that customer to choose you and ultimately transact business with you is key.
Yeah, the next channel we're seeing a lot of growth on is Facebook Messenger, and the adoption of that specific channel is incredible. Additionally, Instagram has just released a new way to start texting through the Instagram app. It's outside of direct messages. It's similar to the Google Click to Message tool that we talked about. Web chats or live chats are gaining in popularity if they're done well. We see a lot of customers get frustrated when it's an off-site, almost a call center responding to those messages. It's in that case, sometimes those can be a worse experience. And then just general SMS text messaging, picture messaging, things like that. So we always get the question of how to set up your Google Click to Message. So we've got these 4 quick steps to show you how to do that. You can first log into your Google My Business page. Just select messaging in the menu. You can add in that whatever number that you want to be receiving those messages, and then obviously you'll have to verify that number with Google, and that way they know it's you. But one of the common issues is you've been in business for years. You probably have published your direct line, your landline for a long time. You may have some recognition around that, and so we recommend making that landline number textable, and so it can receive both calls and texts. And Podium can help you set that up as well.
The other advantage of having a platform to help you manage these conversations is it becomes difficult to scale once you reach a certain number of messages coming in, and one person can't handle all these. So that's one area where Podium can provide some additional value, and we'd love to share with you on an individual basis of how we can do that. But basically, having one centralized platform where all of these message conversations can come in together and make it easy on you as a business to handle and manage those conversations.
Yep. So like I hinted at before, Facebook is becoming more and more popular, and Facebook is up to 1.3 billion users, and there are 60 million business listings. And then we've seen 2 billion messages sent between businesses and Facebook users. And so this is another quick and easy way where someone may turn to Facebook for a recommendation from a friend or family member, and then that might point you to that specific Facebook page. You can just click on Messenger and begin chatting that way. So if you haven't set that up or turned that on, make sure to do that right away. Next, we can look at converting your web traffic into customers. So 40% of consumers visit a website after landing on your Google My Business page. And so that's a huge section of your traffic is coming from Google search results. Website visitors are 6 times more likely to become customers when invited to chat. And so if they've engaged far enough where they're willing to communicate with you on a chat tool like that, they end up converting it at a significantly higher rate. Podium specifically has a tool called Web Chat, and Podium Web Chat users see 11 times more leads than they did before implementing that tool, simply because Web Chat is a chat icon on your website that, when clicked, it will again open in the phone's native texting application. So really, all they have to give is their name and phone number, and then that conversation can continue on long after they've navigated away from your website. So the lead flow there has been really impressive.
One thing that I'll add here, everyone, is the concept that we're trying to accomplish here is to make that transition as easy and, again, as convenient as possible for the customers to transition from your website into your store. The car buying experience will always be an in-person experience, at least for the foreseeable future. And we just want to facilitate that transition and bridge that gap. And text messaging is one way, and Podium's web chat tool to make it easy to a softer transition from the time the customer's on the website until they end up coming in the store, right? So some might prefer to call, some might come right in. Again, text messaging is just one more way to make it easy and convenient for those customers. Tip number 3, make it easy for your customers to give you money. I think this one goes without a lot of explanation, but it's also very important, right? We've got it's not just cash, check, or credit card anymore. There's a lot of different payment options that are much more convenient today, and that's why we see companies like Apple and Facebook and some of these disruptive companies in the industry come up with payment solutions to make it easier for customers, right? So there's a couple of ways that mobile payments can make the buying experience simple and easy. Specifically in the dealership setting, I look at the service department as a real opportunity to capitalize on some of this, right? With a car, buying a car and financing, there's some things that we have to work around there. But when it comes to getting your car serviced and making it quick and convenient and simple for the customer, mobile payments and other payment options that can be explored here can really provide a much more convenient experience, like we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, another use that we've seen a lot of dealerships use is someone may message into the business on Facebook or text messaging or through web chat and ask about inventory specifically. So let's say they're looking for an F-150. You've got the specific one they're looking for, and they say, "Can you hold it for me?" And that's a tricky question. But if you're able to send them a request on Venmo or Apple Pay or another tool like that, to say, yes, for X dollars, I'll hold the car for you for 24, 48 hours. And that obviously makes that transaction much more sticky. They're that much more likely to end up coming in and picking up that vehicle.
Yeah, very well said. So just explore that. Podium has some solutions that we can help with, and more being developed down the road to help you with those mobile payments and making that a lot more convenient.
So tip number 4 is create a really seamless transition between online and offline experiences. So a couple ways to do that in the dealership world would be keeping your online inventory up to date, and then be as engaging online as you are in store. And so creating ways for somebody to ask questions or chat with you on your website is incredibly valuable. And then if you're able to map those conversations back to your customer relationship management tool or your dealer management system is really valuable. So one general tip is knowing who you are and what your customer wants can really improve this transition. And so if you feel like your business is especially good at one specific thing, highlighting that on your website and really carrying that through every aspect of your business, from browsing cars on your online website to setting an appointment to come in and look, to following up with appointments and scheduling appointments with your service department. All of those are kind of that merge between online and offline experiences, and making those smooth can be really powerful.
And one other thing, guys, that I just want to highlight that I really love on this tip number 4 is be as engaging online as you are in store. I think that's one area where dealerships specifically can improve significantly. When somebody walks into the store, that's a best case scenario, right? You want to be able to engage with them and provide them a great experience. But today, more and more people are choosing to have their first interactions online, and so there's so many ways that you can improve that online interaction and experience for the customer, to where when they do have a question about inventory or they want to schedule something with you, they reach out via some of these online channels that we've talked about, whether it's Facebook Messenger or Google Click to Message or text messaging from your website. You want to make sure that you're quick to respond, but it's someone that can answer the customer's question and help them with their need that responds to them the same way you would if they walked into the store. And then finally, guys, the tip number 5 is set the proper expectations with your customers, so that they understand kind of what level of service to expect, and that expectations are met and hopefully exceeded every time. There's a couple of notes here. Time to delivery is something that's easy to set the proper expectations with in the dealership world. When cars availability and how long the buying process is going to take. Cost of services, right? You want to make sure that's communicated clearly, and that there's no. I think that's one of the main changes that you've seen in the auto industry over the last 10 to 15 years is people you're dealing with a much more educated consumer now, right? They know what the same vehicle is going to cost at all of your competitors before they ever reach out to you. So you've got to be fully transparent with the cost of buying a vehicle or servicing a vehicle, and be upfront with that, so the expectation is set right. then service reminders and scheduling and letting the customer know when their vehicle, the progress of their vehicle, if it's in for service, and what it is you're working on and how long it's going to take, and things like that. A lot of that can be simplified and made a lot more convenient for the customer using some of these same methods that we've talked about, and text messaging specifically. I'll just share a quick experience that I had when I had my truck in my service center. It's been probably 3 or 4 months ago now, but it was in there for a rattling noise that we couldn't find out what it was, and so that it was basically some diagnostic work that needed to be done. And between the service center, my service advisor calling me and leaving me messages, and me calling him back, and he was with somebody else, there was a lot of phone tag happening there between communication that made the experience a lot longer and a lot more frustrating than it could have been. A simple text message to me letting me know that they needed to approve, X dollar amount of diagnostic work, that they found it and that they could get it fixed would have simplified the process for me as a consumer, but it also would have saved the dealership a lot of time, and my truck would have been in and out of there in 2 or 3 days sooner than it actually was. So
yeah, I've had similar experiences where I recently bought new tires on my car. I needed to drop it off. I left for a few hours, and at some point in the day, they had called me. I didn't recognize the phone number. I just let it go to voicemail. And so by the time I got back to listen to it, they had pulled the car off the lift and were off. But they were hoping to see if I would do a couple new things, and I think they wanted to replace an air filter and brakes and things like that. And if they would have sent me a picture via text message or another messaging tool that said, "Hey, looks like your pads need to be swapped out. That's an extra X dollars. Do you want to just do that now?" I could have replied, and they would have been able to capture a lot more incremental revenue with that as well.
Yeah, I think we've all had similar experiences there where you found the frustration with voicemails and phone tag, and that's why today's preferred method of communication for most of us is text messaging, right? I'm looking at 5 or 6 text messages that I've had just during this conversation. That's communication that's happened, alongside while you're doing other things. So that's what we're talking about by today's convenience economy. That's the customer we're dealing with, and that's how we need to adapt. So with that, guys, I want to just invite everyone to. We've got some sources on the statistics that we referenced, but Podium is a very, very useful tool that businesses can use to solve a lot of the problems that we've talked about today. And not only that, but make you the obvious choice for consumers when they're searching for you, and make sure that you pull up on some of those search results, and also make you the most convenient and the easiest dealership or business for them to choose.
Yeah, one quick success story. We had somebody sign up with Podium. They implemented a texting strategy where essentially all the sales reps were able to log into our one dashboard, and all those messages came into one place that could be assigned to the right person. And within a couple hours of that, they had a few inbound messages of people looking for inventory. One person specifically was looking for a new Tundra. He made sure they had the right one in stock and said, "Hey, I'm on my way. I'll come pick that up right now." So within hours, they had sold a full truck just via text messages, because they were the convenient, simple solution that buyer was looking for. So we can help you do the same thing when you're in conversations with the Podium team. Simply mention Podium 18, Podium 18, for a discount off your service. So with that, we can open it back up to any questions.
Excellent presentation from Tyson Brown and Matt Boyce of Podium. And if you do have any questions, please use the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And just a reminder that we are recording today's webinar, so please keep watch of your inbox for a link to that recording so you can review those 5 recommendations and share it with others at your store. And a lot of great advice, gentlemen. I guess perhaps a way to get started is where Thanksgiving is approaching, and the holiday season and the close of the year. Just what is perhaps some of the tips that can be quickly implemented, and perhaps ones that maybe take a little bit more heavy lifting that would need a little time to finalize. If you could just articulate what maybe are some strategies that can quickly be made, and ones that maybe need a team huddle to finalize.
Thanks, Nick. That's a great question. What comes to mind is the first one that I would say that if you haven't already got it turned on is go into your Google My Business page and turn on click to message. Even if you just turn it on to come to your private cell phone, right? Just experiment with that and give customers that option, because as that becomes the more and more normal, you want to make sure it's available for customers. And so that would be kind of a short-term solution. While you're there doing that, you can update a lot of the other information that might be dated or that needs updated on your Google My Business page. Answer some questions, the Q&A section there for commonly asked questions about that. But just make sure that it is easy for customers to find you and the information they're looking for on that Google My Business page. You can take any dealership can take 30 minutes to an hour and go through and just kind of audit their own Google My Business page and make sure that it's up to date. And then the second thing that I would recommend is capitalize on the increased customer traffic that you're going to have this holiday season, and see if you can't get more reviews from those customers, right? You've got this holiday season where you're doing sales events and other initiatives to help drive traffic. All of those customers, that whether they transact business with you or not, all of those are a possibility to leave you positive feedback and positive reviews online. Implement a process to ask for those reviews. I think just asking for them goes a long way. Podium has the best solution in the industry to make it easy to ask for and get those reviews from your customers. So we'd love to help anybody out that's in need there. But make sure you're trying to capitalize on the feedback that those customers can leave you.
And if you do decide to use Podium specifically, we can be up and running and fully implemented usually within a day. We're not. It doesn't take months or weeks to implement Podium like it might some other solution. So really, if you want to get started, it's very fast.
Again, the voices that you're hearing, those are our guest experts for today's webinar. That's Tyson Brown and Matt Boyce from Podium for our webinar today. Convenience wins, 5 tips to improve the customer experience. And you've articulated many of the points already, but just again to perhaps to reemphasize of how these recommendations can benefit both the sales and the service drive at a dealership. Perhaps there's some internal rivalry that might be happening at a store, but just to reiterate that how these strategies can benefit both sales and service.
Oh, that's another great point there. When it comes to the dealership, like internally at a dealership, sales and service are very separate. But from a customer perspective, if they're looking for a new car or they need their oil changed or some other service done, they want to go to the same dealership, right? They don't separate it in their mind at all. And so I think that's one example of having a tool like we talked about on your website. When the customer gets to your website and they want to text you, or gets to your Google listing and they want to text you, it might be about sales, it might be about service, it could be anything, but those messages can come in, and then internally in the dealership, you want to have a tool, and this is what Podium basically provides, is it gives you a tool to be able to route those messages to the right department. So the same way when the customer calls into the dealership, you can transfer the call to service if it's a service related call. You can do the same thing with text messaging through the Podium platform. And so just making it simple for whatever the customer needs, whether it's inventory questions and questions about a new purchase, or their scheduled service or unscheduled service, making it simple for you guys internally to be able to handle and manage those text conversations regardless of where they originate. That's one thing that I think is very unique about Podium, is it can be used cross departments in the dealership, right? Service advisors, a lot of times we've got countless examples of service advisors solving the problem that both Matt and I shared, where as the customer's vehicle's in the shop, they can keep them updated and send text messages to the customer, letting them know the status of their vehicle, and just make that entire experience much more pleasant. And then when the service is completed, the customer can take payment right from that same message conversation and leave a review or leave some feedback for the business through the same text message conversation.
Again, closing moments here with our special guests for today's webinar. That's Tyson Brown and Matt Boyce of Podium. For our webinar today, Convenience Wins, 5 tips to improve the customer experience. And gentlemen, perhaps a way to wrap up our time today, you've each shared some personal anecdotes as well as some experiences with dealership clients. I guess one last go around, each of you have an opportunity to leave a closing thought or anecdote that can help dealerships of all sizes, not only today, for the rest of the year and beyond.
Yeah, if you just look into the future, 2, 3, maybe 5 years, and you imagine what it's like to transact in the year 2025, something like that. The business that gets there the fastest will win. So we believe that's really going to be the business that's the most convenient and easy to transact with, will stand apart, where people are even willing to pay a little bit more if an experience is more convenient and hassle-free. And so today, the way to implement that strategy is through short-form messaging and making it really easy to do those types of messages from your Google My Business page, from your website, or just from your mobile device. And so anyway, the businesses that implement that type of a strategy the fastest are that much more likely to stay ahead of the competition in the future.
Love that thought, Matt. Thank you. My last thought would be just take a little bit of introspective as consumers, right? Each of us are consumers in some light, and think about how many times we've turned to Google to find a local business that you want to work with or in need of, and how many times have you read the reviews and how influential those reviews are, and how many times you've chosen the business because it's the most convenient. So the way consumers buy and do research and make purchases has changed and will continue to change, and it's just that much more critical for businesses to adapt to that.
Again, that's our special guest for today's webinar. That's Tyson Brown and Matt Boyce from Podium for our webinar, Convenience Wins, 5 tips to improve the customer experience. And certainly more information is available at their website at podium.com. Tyson, Matt, thank you so much for all of the great information and recommendations.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
And for all of us at Cherokee Media Group, I'm Nick Zulovich. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.